Please be seated. The President. The court is now back in session. I now hand over to the representative of the civil party lawyers to continue her line of questioning. You may proceed. Counsel Jaitwan Lee. Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors, and good afternoon, everybody. Before we broke, I touched upon the topic relating to Trang Chamre. So I would like to continue my question. Those who stay at Trang Chamre office, did they enjoy freedom, their freedom of movement? Could they move around easily? Response. Those who were at Trang Chamre could not move arbitrarily. They did not have freedom to move around. They had to stay within their premise. Thank you. How about the food ration and the food regime over there? As for food regime, people had to be self-reliant, and if they did not have, or if they were lack of any necessary items, then the upper office would offer them. Questions. Did they eat in a communal hall, or did they eat separately? But response. They ate collectively. Thank you. Question. If any member or person found committed any wrongdoing, what would be the consequence for the person? Response. At Trang Chamre, self-criticism meetings were held regularly. When I was transferred to take charge at Trang Chamre, actually I was designated by Brother Ieng Sari, and I was tasked to coordinate the task over there, and I convened meetings regularly. Normally, I designated tasks to my to peoples over there so that they knew what they had to do. So over there were no substantial mistake were made by people over there, so nobody would have been alleged of being enemies or so. Thank you. In your capacity as the supervisor of Trang Chamre, did you report regularly to Mr. Ieng Sari? Response. Yes, I reported to him regularly. Thank you. Question. Did Mr. Ieng Sari visit the place often? Response. When I was designated to take charge of that place, Brother Ieng Sari rarely went there. At that time, Mr. Ieng Sari was very busy traveling overseas.
សូមអរគុណលោកតើ
Thank you. Question. Can you recall, did Ieng Sari ever visit the place, or he had never visited the place at all? Response. When I was transferred to supervise that place, I did not see Mr. Ieng Sari visit the place often. But before I was transferred there, Trang Chomreh, which was subordinate to one of the zones, Mr. Ieng Sari and I took foreign visitors on their visits. Then we stopped by that place a few times as well. Question. When you went there, did you ever convene a meeting and introduce any political studies to people over there? There I went to attend the meeting, but the meeting was of nothing important. It was a mere day-to-day meetings and to learn from our experience.
សូមគោរពលោកប្រធានខ្ញុំសូមអនុញ្ញាតឲ្យ
Council Chetwanli, Mr. President, with your leave, I would like to ask the assistant to display the document D369/36, question answer 94. The President, you may proceed. Assistant, please display this document on the computer screens. Council Chetwanli, my apology, Mr. President. It's question and answer 106, not 94. My apology for that. Mr. President, with your leave, I would like to read this portion out. Thank you. Question. For those who committed a wrongdoing, would they be punished? Answer. During that time, there were daily meetings. When something out of ordinary happened, the head of the office would report to Mr. Ieng Sari. However, people were not punished for their having committed the wrongdoing. The out of the ordinary thing here refers to the situation when any of the Trang Chomreh people were externally accused of having been affiliated with the enemy network. So on this particular portion, I would like to ask the witness as to who was in charge of the office. The chairman of the office back then, to my recollection, was Ta Chieng. His wife's name was Sa. Thank you. Can you clarify us another point when you say things out of ordinary situation or irregular things? What does it mean in this context? The irregular things in this context means as follows. When I was meeting with Ta Chiang, who was a person in charge over there, he reported to us that the person did not commit any wrongdoing and he performed his task as usual, but other people from outside accused him of committing certain wrongdoings. That's what we considered as irregular. On that particular portion, there was a phrase which reads, Trang Chumreh people who have been affiliated with the enemy network. What does it mean? I do not understand the word ordinary, because what I did, I considered as an ordinary course of action, but sometimes I was alleged of doing something irregular or something not ordinary. So I do not understand that myself. Thank you. I have the last two questions before I hand over to my esteemed colleagues. Question. Do you know Mr. Hut Sambat? Response. Well, I have heard of his name, but I have never met him in person. Thank you. During the Sihanouk period or Lon Nol administration, what was Mr. Hut Sambat's role? Response. I don't know. Thank you. This is going to be my last question here. Did you know the arrest of Mr. Hut Sambat from Trang Chomreh in 1976? Response. In 1976, I knew nothing about what was going on at Trang Chomreh. Council Chetwani, thank you very much, Mr. President. In the interest of time, I would like to conclude my question here, and I would like to hand over to my international colleague to continue our line of questioning. The President, yes, you may proceed.
Mr. President, distinguished judges, councils, witness, good afternoon to you all. I am the international lawyer representing civil parties. Bearing in mind the time available to us this afternoon, I shall proceed fairly rapidly. I have some questions for clarifying the general workings of aspects that you have told us about in the last few days about the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the offices that were attached to it. After that, I will bring up some more personal cases. Relating to civil parties that we represent and for whom we are spokespersons. First, then, the matters for clarification. My first question to you, please point out to me if I am speaking too fast for the interpretation system. My first question concerns an issue that did come up in my colleagues' questions just now, and that is the death by strangulation of Mrs. or Miss Kyo Tirat. We are perfectly well aware of the facts and the situation, but my question is, was any disciplinary action taken against Pong? Thank you.
Response. Back then, no disciplinary action was taken. Pang remains Pang. But later on, I heard that Pang had disappeared. And the reason behind his disappearance, I had no idea.
Merci.
Thank you. Do you believe that there's a link between Pong's disappearance and the event that we have been talking about relating to the death of Kyo Tirat?
The President, Mr. Witness, please hold on. The Defense Counsel is on his feet. You may proceed, Mr. Kanavas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just as a matter of principle, the gentleman just indicated that he wasn't aware of the circumstances under which Pong, or for what reasons he disappeared. Now he's being asked to speculate. And so he's being asked to draw some sort of a conclusion or speculation when he doesn't have any facts to that. So I object to the form of the question. If you wish to allow it, that's fine, but I think for consistency purposes, we should not be asking witnesses to speculate.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. President, I would have two comments to make. The witness answered on 2 points. No disciplinary measure was taken, and immediately after that, he said, but I observed that Pong disappeared, so I don't believe I am speculating. I am simply bringing together the two comments which the witness made in the form of a question, without separating the two things. But this is not a speculative question.
The President, objection by the Defense Counsel is sustained. So the witness is directed not to answer to the last question posed by counsel for the civil parties.
Bien, je vais vous poser une autre question.
Very well, then I'll ask another question on the subject of Bang Trabek. You said that you went to Pong to tell him to take care of Kun David, an intellectual, after having seen him at Bang Trabek. Logically, you said to us that you went to Bang Trabek before Pang's arrest. You also said that there was no connection between the ministry and Bang Trabek before Pang's arrest.
Comment expliquez-vous que vous êtes allé à Bang Trabek?
But how do you explain that you went to Bang Trabek when it was still under Pong's authority, and in what capacity did you go?
Response. When I met Pong to discuss about Kuan David, I did not meet Pong at Bang Trabai, but I met him in another venue which was somewhere I cannot recall, but it was not in the ministry setting, but it was somewhere along the road or somewhere I cannot recall, but there were a place, it was a reception place when I met him and I asked him about that matter. I did not meet him at Bang Trabai, and I told him that he should take care of Kuan David because the upper echelon wanted him to work with them. So I did not meet Pong at Bang Trabai.
Merci.
Thank you.
Vous avez dit être allé à Ben Trabek,
You said that you went to Bang Trabai
l'arrivée des Vietnamiens,
before the arrival of the Vietnamese
des soldats.
in order to evacuate the soldiers who were stationed there.
Quelle autorité aviez-vous sur ces
What authority did you have over those soldiers?
de membres de la sécurité du ministère?
Were they part of the ministerial
Ministère.
security detail or defense units for the ministry?
The President, witness, please hold on. The defense is on his feet. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize for interrupting, but I don't recall that there's been any such testimony where the individual has indicated that he went there to vacate soldiers. So, and I know we don't have a transcript. I know that he went there for other purposes, for which I don't wish to reveal at this point, because the gentleman, I don't want to give the impression that I'm trying to tell him what to say, but I don't recall him ever saying that he went there to vacate any soldiers.
The President, the representative of prosecution, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was taking notes, and I did write down that at one point the witness said that twice with Yang Sari and twice on his own he went, once to evacuate the Bang Trabec soldiers before the arrival of the Vietnamese. You may ask the witness if he wishes to confirm.
The President, the National Council for Khieu Sampon, you may proceed. Council. Thank you, Mr. President. I simply would like to intervene to bridge the differences here. Actually, he did not go there to vacate the soldiers at Bang Trabai, but actually he went there to evacuate the intellectuals who were being kept there. The President. The objection by the Defense Counsel is sustained. The witness has not said that he went there to vacate the soldiers over there, but he did say that he went there 4 times, 2 of which he went with Ieng Sari, and the other 2 he went there by himself, and the last time he went to evacuate intellectuals when the Vietnamese troops were heading for Phnom Penh. So when the Vietnamese troops were on the verge of conquering Phnom Penh, then he went there to evacuate those intellectuals.
Merci, je pense.
Thank you.
Faudra regarder de près, mais en tout cas,
I think we'll have to look more closely at this, but the French version clearly does not quite correspond to the Khmer and English one.
dernière question sur
One more question on the
général.
general functioning.
Il s'agit du rôle du bureau 870.
And here I'm going to ask about the role of Office 870. Did you often see Pong in Office 870?
Response. I saw Pong at Office 870 very often.
Pouvez-vous préciser quelle fréquence?
Can you make this clearer? How often did you see him? Once a day, once a week?
Response. I was at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. When I went there, for example, once or twice every month, I always saw Pong over there. But as far as I knew, Pong traveled from one place to another. And normally I met him almost every place I went to. Sometimes I met him at Office 870. At the other time, I met him when he was meeting with soldiers or so. So it was like he was a mobile cadre of Office 870.
Quelles sont les tâches d'un cadre mobile?
What are the duties to be performed by a mobile cadre, in particular Pong?
Response. I think the people in that group has the right to travel anywhere or to enter any office. That's what I said. They were mobile everywhere.
Merci. Ils avaient la possibilité de circuler.
Thank you. Do you mean that it was possible for them to move about freely nationwide? Did I understand your statement correctly?
Response. Are you referring to Pong in specific? Are you referring to myself?
Non, non, je parle de Pong.
Oh no, I am referring to Pong, the mobile cadre of the Office 870.
Response. As far as I knew, he had freedom of movement, but of course it's not nationwide. It was within the capital city of Phnom Penh.
Qui va prendre
Question.
la présidence du comité
Who chaired the committee
après l'arrestation de Pong?
after the arrest of Pong?
Response. Which committee are you referring to?
Toujours.
Question. Still 870.
Response. The chief of that office was Pong. As for 870, there were Pol Pot, Noon Chi, etc. who were in the leadership role, and I do not need to describe that.
Ma question était
My question was, who replaced Pong after his disappearance?
ខ្ញុំអត់បានដឹងទេ
Response. No, I didn't know about that at the time.
et aujourd'hui
Question. And how about today? Are you able to answer the question today?
Response. Even today, I still do not know, because when Pong gone, the situation was chaotic. I did not ask anybody about who was the replacement. I was only concerned about myself. I was trying to manage my office and the people who worked in my office, so that they were in a better, secure place upon the invasion by the Vietnamese troop.
est-ce que cela signifie
Question.
dans les faits vous avez
Does it mean that
la place organisationnelle
in a de facto manner you replaced Pong occasionally in that office?
Response. Are you referring to me, myself?
oui puisque
Yes,
vous avez indiqué
since you have stated
que vous n'avez pas posé la question
that the question
de connaître la
didn't
personne qui le remplaçait et que
occur to you, and that you didn't want to find out who replaced him,
administrer ce bureau
and that
pour qu'il puisse fonctionner
you were more preoccupied with administering that office in order that it may function during the turbulent period as the Vietnamese were approaching.
President, the witness, could you please hold? Defense Counsel Kanavas, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Perhaps there is a problem with the translation because what's coming out from English is vastly different from the way the lawyer now is phrasing what the witness testified. And perhaps she may wish to rephrase the question. But he never indicated sort of the predicate that she put to the question, the facts that she's alluding to.
Thank you, counsels. Defense Counsel for Kieu Sampon, you may proceed.
Oui, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, Mr. President, I endorse the objection because I was listening to the French, and there was no mention of the witness replacing anyone in age 70 because from the French, the witness said that he was in charge of his own office.
Objections raised by the defense teams are sustained. The witness, you are instructed not to respond to this question. Representative of lead co-lawyers, please try to rephrase your question and to make it more precise for the witness to respond.
Monsieur le Président, je ne reformulerai pas cette question.
Mr. President, I will not rephrase the question. The witness's answer is quite clear to me because he states that no one replaced Pong as chairperson of that committee. I will stick to that answer. Now I will talk about a more personal aspect because, as you know, we are representing civil parties who are trying to understand the situation and the circumstances under which their close friends and relatives disappeared. Very often, after heeding the call made by their Cambodian brothers to return home, I would be grateful if the witness could assist the civil parties in their search for the truth. I will talk about some key cases and review with you what such cases bring to mind. If you have anything to say on the different cases, I will merely show you some photographs if it is possible. The first person I would like to talk about is Mr. Chao Seng. Do you know him?
President, civil party lawyer, can you provide the identification of that photo or document and whether it is in the case file?
Elle est versée au dossier.
It is indeed in the case file. The reference is as follows: D22289.12.
Et je vous demanderai, Monsieur le Président,
May I request your leave, Mr. President, to have this photograph placed on the screen.
President, yes, you may proceed. President, please switch on your microphone. Your time is running out fast.
voilà. Vous voyez sur cette photographie
Thank you. You would find on this photograph taken at a press conference in Paris in 1971, you would see Mr. Chao Seng. I crave your indulgence for the pronunciation. He is speaking to journalists. He is using a microphone. He is, and next to him is King Norodom Sihanouk. My question is simple. On the one hand, do you know this name and do you know those persons?
Response. I know the person by the name of Chao Sei through reading the newspapers, but I do not recognize the gentleman in the photo.
Merci.
Thank you.
Souvenez-vous
Question.
à quelle période
Do you recall
est arrivé
during what period
de Pochentong?
that person arrived at Pochentong Airport?
Response. I cannot recall it clearly.
Vous n'êtes pas allé l'accueillir
Question. Did you not go to welcome him at Pochentong Airport?
Response. No, I did not go to greet him.
Savez-vous
Question.
ensuite où cette personne a été envoyée?
Do you know where that person was subsequently sent?
Response. No, I did not know.
Cette personne
Question.
a été à Ben Trabek
That person was at Ben Krabek for a start,
et ensuite
and
envoyé
then
à S21.
he was sent to S21.
Étiez-vous au courant de cette arrestation?
Were you aware of his arrest?
Response. No, I was not.
Est-ce que Yensari
Question.
selon vous?
How about Ieng Sari? Was he aware of it? To your mind?
Response. I do not know about Mr. Ieng Sari.
Savez-vous qui est venu chez
Question.
Monsieur Chao Sang?
Do you know who went to fetch Mr. Chao Seng?
Response. No, I did not.
Ne serait-ce pas Pang?
Question. Is it not possible that he was picked up by Peng? By Peng?
Response. No, I did not know about that.
Est-ce qu'il arrivait souvent que des personnes
Question.
sous l'autorité du ministère des
Did it often happen that persons under the authority of the foreign ministry left that ministry without Ieng Sari being privy to it or being informed of it?
Response. There were times when Pong came to take those people, or his subordinates with his signature, with his letter, without the knowledge of Mr. Ieng Sari.
Merci.
Thank you.
La réalité est que cette personne a été
The fact of the matter is that that person was arrested at Bang Trabek and sent to S21 under a false name,
en avez-vous entendu
Chen Xuan. Were you aware of that?
Response: No, I was not.
On ne parlait pas de ces choses au ministère?
Did people not talk about such matters at the ministry, in the office?
Response: No, it was silent.
Il s'agissait d'un membre important du groupe.
That was an important member of GRUNC in charge of external affairs and working with the king. That person was certainly well known, and his return to the country was known, was public knowledge.
Vous maintenez qu'on n'en parlait pas.
Do you stand by your assertion that people did not talk about it?
President, the witness, please hold. Defense counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think first a foundation has to be laid. Did anyone know where this person was taken? And if others knew, whether this person knew that others knew that this person was taken someplace like S21. So I think we need to ask this witness whether he knew where the person was taken at which point. How can people talk about something if they don't know about it? Now, perhaps if a foundation is laid, that's one thing. But to simply suggest that because he was an important person who went one place and then later disappeared does not necessarily follow from that people knew exactly where the person went and what happened to the person. The foundation has to be laid.
President, thank you, counsel, for the observation. The observation is appropriate. A representative of the lead co-lawyers for civil party, please reword your question. It doesn't mean that upon the return to the country of Chao Sei, everybody knew about that. And not everybody knows the name of Chao Sei.
Je me réfère au procès-verbal.
I would refer to the transcript of the 7th of April 2010, E346. E3436.
Dans lequel
In which
Monsieur le témoin a été interrogé
the witness was questioned
Chao Sei
and the name of Mr. Chao Seng was mentioned.
Il s'agit de la dernière question.
And it is the last
La réponse.
question, the answer to the last question.
La question est la suivante.
The question was as follows.
Dernière page.
Last page.
Et la réponse numéro 114.
And it is answer number 114.
Un témoin nous a mentionné le nom des
A
anciens
witness mentioned the names of former
French Chamras,
diplomats who lived at Krang Chamre, and among them were the following
dont Monsieur
dignitaries, including Mr. Chao Seng. Are you aware that all those persons were sent to Krang Chamre?
Je n'en savais rien du tout.
And the witness says, I was not at all aware of that. I knew only the elder brother of Sarin Shak. He often came there with Yang Sari, but he didn't work there and he didn't live there.
Donc, Monsieur le témoin connaissait
Now,
l'existence ou le nom de cette
witness, did you know the name
par le juge
and the existence of that person,
à partir
at least following the questions of the co-investigating judges, as from
polémiquer, je suis là
2010?
évoquer
I am not here to cause a controversy. I just want to bring up specific cases for this witness to comment on,
je dirais, l'application concrète
with regard to the
du fonctionnement de ce ministère, de ces
the manner in which the ministry functioned together with its organs. As we've seen throughout the week, thanks to this witness, we have been able to see part of the reality. Now I will talk about another figure,
Pan,
and this is Mr.
était un professeur
Fong Ton, an associate professor of law.
Alors, j'ai également une photographie
I also have a photograph
parce que
of him
c'est important que
because I think it is important
ces gens qui représentaient les compétences étaient reconnus
that these people who
d'une élite cambodgienne
were figures of authority, who are well known, and Cambodian elites
télévision, ce tribunal, et je vous demande
should also
également de projeter
appear on Cambodian TV. And I would request the Chamber's leave to have the photograph of this witness put on the screen.
171.7.
And it is document D2886.7.3. May I request your leave, Mr. President, to have this document placed on the screen.
President, Council, could you give the EIN or the document ID again of the photo of Peng Ton? The interpreter could not get it.
De cette photo et répétez la cote que vous avez donnée car les interprètes n'ont pas pu la saisir.
Alors, la cote
The reference is
188-6
D28-6/6.171.3.
La cote P 0
The reference is P00
8
384
7
759.
Est-ce que je peux montrer la photo au témoin?
Can the photograph be shown to the witness, Mr. President?
President, court officer, can you take the hard copy of the document for the witness examination?
Monsieur le témoin, connaissez-vous
Witness,
cette personne?
do you know the name of that person?
Response, no, I do not know this person.
Il s'agit d'un professeur de droit
This is an associate professor of law
qui avait d'ailleurs une proposition pour enseigner
who, by the way,
dans les facultés.
was offered a job to teach in
Il avait été
French universities.
pour le ministère des Affaires étrangères
He worked abroad for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs
15
in early
concernant
1975,
l'île
and he worked on the problem of the Puluwe
frontière.
Islands,
Et cette
which
personne
was
est rentrée dans ce
the subject of a dispute between Vietnam and Thailand, and that person returned home in 1975.
President, counsel for Ieng Sary, you may proceed.
President, Your Honors, I apologize for the interruptions. I know it's late in the day and counsel wants to get through a certain amount of material, but testifying as she has just done is not proper in these proceedings. The fact that he was a professor, the fact that he negotiated on other things, now perhaps because he was with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs prior to 1975, that fact may be relevant. But I think the question has to be, within reason, the facts have to be put out within a question as opposed to giving lengthy explanations. Granted, we don't wish to curtail the rights of the civil parties, but they have to behave like the rest of us when posing questions, as opposed to making speeches and testifying. And that's what this is about, testifying. None of this is in evidence.
Well, the President, thank you. Counsel, do you have any other question? Because you may have only one or two more question times to ask. You should put question right away rather than describing the photos, because here is the testimony. We are hearing the witness concerning his experience that he has come across, particularly the knowledge he has known concerning the facts alleged in the case file that has been served to be in case 002/01.
Bien, je n'ai pas compris, entendu la réponse de mon contradicteur, mais peu importe.
I didn't hear the objection made by my learned friend because I had problems with my headset.
Qui est la suivante?
I have
Cette
the
personne
following question for the
a été
witness.
envoyée à Ben Trabec,
That person was sent to Ben
réalisé.
Trabec.
Nous avons une biographie
We have
de celle-ci.
a biography of that person.
Ma question est à B1.
My question is as follows. Who issued instructions at B1 for people's biographies to be obtained?
Response. I do not know this person, and I did not know who wrote his biography either.
Il s'agit d'un document
It is the document D-22-10-6. I am giving the reference of the document, and I will explain to the Chamber the specific problem the civil parties have regarding the document. The document is D-22-10-6 with an ERN number in Khmer, in English, and in French. This document is part of the civil party file. This document has not been shown to the witness. As you know, civil parties submit documents before, during, and after the work of the co-investigating judges. And applications that they file are not before the trial chamber. And since we are talking of many victims, it is possible for the applications to be disputed. Each time a witness appears before your chamber, documents of civil parties are not brought to the knowledge of the witness. So in that case, how can we talk about our files with the evidence we have in support of those applications, whereas applications exist, and we hope that they will be admissible. Since we cannot produce these documents and place them before the trial chamber, and the witness has not had an opportunity to see them.
The President, Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, first of all, asking a witness questions about matters which the witness is incapable of answering, and then trying to show a document which may not necessarily refresh a memory or assist the witness is not terribly helpful. Throughout the process, and this is a very lengthy process, there will be witnesses where documents or questions can be asked of witnesses in order to elicit certain facts which would be necessary later on. But you cannot try your entire case with every witness. This witness has a certain capacity to answer certain areas. Now, the question is, does he know the gentleman? Did he know where he was? If there are records where the gentleman was and what happened to him thereafter, I'm sure they'll be able to establish that through another witness. But this witness has indicated as much as he's able to indicate. Now, if there's a way of impeaching the witness by showing him some prior inconsistent statement, that's fine. But to simply say that there are civil parties and that there are constraints and that they need to make certain proofs doesn't mean that they get to use these documents with any witness that simply appears. I understand and I sympathize. But they know which are the witnesses that are scheduled to come, and I am sure that there may be other witnesses that they could put these documents to, and I'm also confident that the trial chamber, since it's here to get as close to the truth as possible, will be very mindful in allowing certain documents to come in, even if witnesses haven't touched upon them, because they're admitted under the civil law process and the procedure that we're exercising here. So I don't see what profit is to be gained by going past 4 o'clock, as in this case, in posing questions to a witness concerning a document on something that he's never seen. And there's no need to have explanations of this nature. Now we're going into making oral pleadings about evidentiary documents. And I apologize for having to make these objections, but I think that we need to be very precise on the proceedings.
Monsieur le Président, je souhaite répondre.
I'd like to answer that, if I may, Mr. President. We're not talking about asking questions on subjects of which the witness is unaware. We have spent the entire week so far talking about the question of biographies. Since he talked about an educational role and pure biography, but you have to understand that the civil party is shedding a human light on the documents and the reports that have been referred to. This is entirely within the scope of the subject. We're talking about a biography that was written in Bang Trabek, but I can't talk about it because the witness doesn't know the document. But the general reality has been established by the debate. So this is not speculation. It's today's theme, tomorrow's theme, the day after tomorrow. Well, we'll be talking about something else, no doubt. But I do not believe, and I don't particularly want to produce that document. I'm simply indicating that it exists, and I'm demonstrating to the court the problems that are faced by the civil parties on a given subject. They have
could counsel please be mindful of the times? We are actually passing 4 o'clock now, and could you please be brief, because I would like to know whether as to how much time you will need.
Bien, le témoin a répondu à ma question.
Well, the witness answered my question about who was supplying the instructions for the biography. And I shall close at that point. I will now go to one final individual, Mr. Ro Sarin and his wife. Mr. Ross Sarin and his wife, Rosh Shwasi. Are you aware of this name?
Response: No, I don't.
Madame
Mrs. Ross Shwasi and her husband and their 2 children were sent to Bang Trabek. So you don't know Mrs. Ross Shwasi?
Cambodian counsel, could you please assist in reading the name of the person, because it is not clear from the pronunciation of International Council. Mr. Angodam, correction interpreter, Mr. Pich Ong. Ruh Sarin was the name pronounced by my international colleague. Ruh Chua Ce was the name of his wife. The President. Witness, do you know these 2 individuals, Mr. Ruh Sarin and his wife Ruh Chun Ce? Response: No, I don't.
Cette personne a été arrêtée.
This person was arrested and sent to S21 at the same time as Mr. Tung.
Là encore, cette disparition, vous n'en avez pas été informé.
So, am I to take it that you were not informed about that disappearance?
Response. No, I was not informed.
Est-ce qu'il y avait au ministère
In the ministry,
des listes? Est-ce que vous receviez des listes
did you receive lists
de personnes à transférer?
of people to be transferred?
Response. No, we did not have that list.
Comment saviez-vous
How did you know
les mutations
what transfers were being
dans
made
ce cas?
in that case?
Response. I don't really understand the question.
Ces personnes arrivées à l'aéroport,
These people came into the airport.
ensuite
Then
passaient
they went to B1
et ensuite
and then
étaient envoyés en rééducation.
they were sent for re-education in camps or they disappeared.
Si vous ne receviez pas de liste,
If you didn't
comment
have a list of names,
les transferts?
how did you transfer the people?
Qui
Response. I don't really understand this question, but I endeavor to answer this question. I was not in charge of transferring people, but I assisted them in searching for their family members. And I could not even search for my family members. How could I search for other family members? It's a bit difficult to answer to that question. The President, Council, your time is up. We are now well over 4 o'clock. The President. Thank you, witness. It is now 15 minutes past 4. It is therefore appropriate to take the day adjournment, and the court will resume tomorrow morning starting from 9 a.m. Witness and the duty counsel, due to the incomplete of the testimony here, so the chamber wishes to invite both of you to come to testify before the chamber again tomorrow, starting from 9 a.m. and we also invite the duty counsel to accompany the witness. Court officer is instructed to coordinate and facilitate with the Wesu to provide lodgement and as well as transport of the witness. And the chamber wishes to inform the parties that tomorrow we will start by the questioning by the member of the bench, if any, and after which the chamber will hand over the floor to the defense team for Ieng Sari. And the defense teams have also agreed among each others that the defense team for Ieng Sari would be the first team to put question to this witness. And this is also consistent as indicated in the memorandum of the chamber that any moving party would have the opportunity to put the question first, but since there was an agreement amongst the defense teams, that's why tomorrow we will start the questioning by the defense counsel for Ieng Sari first. The security guards are instructed to bring the accused to the holding cell, to the detention facility. The court is adjourned.